What is going on, everybody? Paul here, coming at you with your crypto coffee update. I got a lot of news to cover today, guys. All kinds of stuff coming out. Very interesting and relevant information. First of all, simultaneous sip with me, so join me for that. Good stuff. And secondly, somebody noticed in the last Crypto Coffee episode that I have my little buddies behind me. They are my friends, they are my guinea pigs, and I have here for you guys today one of the little babies. Here he is, living potato. So I figured you guys would get a kick out of that. They're my little crypto buddies. This one actually runs around on the floor. He's pretty happy about it. So suffice to say, I love them very much, and they keep me company while I help to peruse the news with you guys, my internet friends. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the big article of the day is the fact that a outlet called Breaker Mag, they released basically a investigative journalism piece that they did, saying that over half of the crypto outlets they spoke to said they were okay with taking payment to have basically a review of an ICO or a project listed as not sponsored, basically flying in the face of journalistic integrity. So let's go ahead and unpack exactly what's going on. The gentleman who undertook the investigation, he previously worked for CoinDesk and said he would get this kind of stuff all the time and would simply reply, no, this is completely against journalistic ethics and it's not happening. Well, earlier this year, a guy named John Biggs, you can see him here, he released a documentary exposing how over at TechCrunch, there are a lot of different individuals and firms that offer money to have articles published. They're not necessarily labeled as such. And turns out this is a huge issue in the crypto space. At first glance, I thought perhaps maybe this is just a kind of the wild, wild west free market that you would expect from crypto. It's not all too surprising per se, perhaps, but the scale is what really struck me, considering that some of these outlets have huge names. He provides a little bit of context with some of the mainstream media sources not giving as objective as possible coverage to ICOs and cryptocurrency projects, and also Twitter, Google, and Facebook banning ads about ICOs, perhaps as a preemptive display of, hey, we're not involved with this kind of stuff, SEC, don't come knocking. But yeah, basically how it was undertaken is they used a individual from just Russian actor, Googled a picture, slapped it on a Google profile, didn't create a website or anything like that, and just started reaching out to these big name in crypto journalism outlets, including but not limited to, let me find the actual graph, here it is, News BTC, Bitcoinist, CryptoVest, Global Coin Report, AMB Crypto, Coin Idol, Blocked, BTC Manager, etc. So all of these are sources that we have seen on Crypto Coffee updates. And of course, I try to make sure that all these are as accurate as possible and are airtight. However, if they're going to intentionally obfuscate from critical information, well, there's only so much an individual can do if they're not being given the whole story. So suffice to say that these figures ranged from $240 all the way up to $4,500, and it's kind of sketchy. I mean, let's just say I approach an outlet with a project that's obviously maybe not fraudulent, but just not a good project, and they write a just glowing review about it because I paid them behind the scenes. If that elicits somebody to invest money into a project they otherwise wouldn't have, then in this way, perhaps these news outlets can be implicated in what could be considered pump and dump schemes. And this is not original for me. This is coming from where's she at here? There's an individual who runs a crypto podcast that talks about this kind of stuff, Unchained. Here it is, Laura Shin. She says, I think it's awful. These outlets are basically profiting from their readers losing money. It's almost like a pump and dump scheme. The publication will make its money no matter what, as they'll get more than they would from a traditional sponsored post. Their readers think, wow, that sounds like an interesting coin, but if they buy it without realizing the posts they've read was sponsored, then they'll be left holding a bag when the price drops. And that seems to be exactly what has happened in the crypto space for not only most ICOs, as we saw previously in the EY report, keeping in mind that 86% of ICOs are below their ICO price, but it definitely doesn't help when you have this kind of misinformation just flooding through the crypto space. So yeah, just wanted to bring this to light. Definitely not the majority of the news we're going to be looking at, but it is going to help to inform going forward how we here at Cryptide look at news and how we handle this sort of stuff. I actually segregated the news into segments here. The first of which we'll be looking at is coming from CCN. They categorically denied the option at all to list any news that was sponsored without indicating such. So cheers to CCN. Great job, guys. Way to keep that journalistic integrity and ethics that we're talking about here as we try to make the space the best it could possibly be. And frankly, having that kind of scammy backdoor dealing behavior where individuals are clearly losing money because of misinformation, that's not the way to grow the space to make it the best it could possibly be. So cheers to you guys. Let's go ahead and blaze through these articles. You can see up top we have a ton of them to look at today. So we'll move relatively quickly, but as usual, all the links below in the description, guys. Always do your own research, and we already have taken the lion's share of the news bite section with the previous article just because we're going to be looking at news going forward, and journalistic integrity is number one here. We're trying to get the best information to you guys as possible. So let's go ahead and get into it. Australian Stock Exchange is rolling out blockchain settlements in 2021. So it sounds like the distant future, but really it's only 3 years away, guys. So, well, at most 3 years away. We're coming up on 2019 already. And essentially what has been said is, quote, we're not entering the fourth dimension here. It's a database that lets you do a bunch of things more efficiently than you can do at the moment. And frankly, a lot of these existing systems, they need an overhaul. The SWIFT banking system is predicated on banking technology that was developed in the 60s and 70s, and it's just been kerneled off of that ever since, as I understand it. So realistically, having an overhaul that allows data to be transmitted in a more efficient, cost-effective way is a huge boon for global industry as a whole. So good job, Australia, keeping it real, keeping it future forward thinking sort of thing. Kenyans as well. Kenya is a just surprisingly technologically adept nation in terms of mobile phone payments. 68% of all Kenyans, I believe, was the figure. It's either 73 or 68. But suffice to say, high 60s, low 70s%, I'm sure that fluctuates year over year, utilize their cell phone as their main mechanism for banking. So it's no surprise that they've adapted pretty well to cryptocurrency. And this individual in Kenya who runs a restaurant in Nairobi, the capital, he's getting a lot of attention simply because, quote, I attract different customers from different parts of the world. Whatever coin they have, as long as it's a valuable coin, or viable coin, excuse me, we accept it. So that just goes to show that crypto adoption is spreading all around the world, and not least of which in places where they're already familiar with this kind of mobile technology. It's something that's been ingrained in the population just due to geographical constraints and economic constraints that converge to create these situations. And ultimately, it's proving to be something that has developed into an unexpected comparative advantage for the nation of Kenya specifically. So cheers to them. Awesome stuff going on there. Excuse me, guys, got a little allergy stuff. The ragweed, hay fever, whatever you call it, it's like floating around out there. So I'm going to have to clear my throat every so often. But yeah, next article, Spain approves law requiring citizens to disclose crypto holdings. This is something that runs concurrent with the Spanish law. And they're really just closing a loophole. You can see here, closed a legal loophole. This is something that is kind of relevant to Spain. They're having a lot of political contention. We remember the thing that happened with, not Castile province, but can't come to mind right now, but point of the matter being they had the referendum where they were potentially going to split apart into multiple states. That didn't happen. It was really contentious. A lot of this is coming to a head as you can see, 33.8% unemployment in the country. I'm not intimately familiar with the situation. Obviously, I forgot the name of the province that was going to break away. Catalonia, that was it, Catalonia. But yeah, point of the matter being, Spain is looking to raise more tax money because of this unemployment. They have a pretty expansive welfare state, and they're creating an anti-tax fraud unit with another additional 200 officials to help to curb what they see as crypto fraud. So this isn't necessarily the most attractive environment for crypto investors. However, with that said, they are closing the loophole to make it run more concurrent with Spanish legal precedent. So that's neither here nor there, just something to keep an eye on if you're in Spain. We'll keep you up to date if anything interesting comes out of that. Moving over to the island nation of Japan. Again, all of this at a CCN, great reporting happening there. Japan's considering significant caps on cryptocurrency margin trading. For those who may be unaware, margin trading is essentially putting up an amount of money as a down payment to be able to utilize a larger amount of money for what's called a leveraged position. This has some pros. Obviously, you're trading with more money. That means more profit in your pocket if it goes well. The obverse of that is if things go wrong, you have a lower margin of error, right? So let's say you hold on to a coin, it drops 90%. Well, if you did what's called 2x margin, or you put down $1,000 and now you can trade with 2,000, your position can only drop by 50% before you are what's called liquidated, which means your portfolio is forcibly liquidated on your behalf in order to cover your obligation for the leverage that you entered into the trade with. Hopefully that makes sense, but suffice to say, right now in Japan, you can trade with up to 25 times leverage. Don't tell them about BitMEX, guys, because you can do up to 100 times leverage, which is just wild. There's all kinds of theories and hypotheses about risk exposure in trading, but we're not going to get into that today. Suffice to say that the FSA, the Financial Services Agency over in Japan, is keeping an eye on this kind of activity, though. So just if you're in Japan, something to keep an eye on as these laws begin to change. They're still relatively malleable given the relatively young crypto space that we're seeing. Next up, we have a woman arrested for stealing XRP worth about $65,000. This story in and of itself isn't particularly unique, just something to help to drive home, protect your assets, do your own research, have your 2FA enabled, have a cold storage device that you keep in a safe, secure place where you know only you have access to it, that sort of stuff, guys. But of course, again, that's not financial advice. It's up to you to decide what security practices work best for you and your unique situation. But suffice to say, having $65,000 on what seems like just a cell phone or that sort of thing isn't the best security practice. That may not be the case here, but nonetheless, definitely do your own research with that kind of stuff. Next up, Stellar is going to launch a stablecoin pegged to the Australian dollar. This is super neat. I love this. This is really interesting because over here you can see the governor, the actually assistant governor of Australia. She's not too stoked about the central bank digital currencies. She says the existing system works well. She doesn't really see the need for this sort of thing. The burden of proof, as said, is on the individuals who are purporting that this technology is going to be the next big thing. But that hasn't stopped Stellar Lumens launching an alternative to what would potentially have been a central bank digital currency from Australia. So this goes to show the emerging potentiality for free enterprise to leapfrog central banks and perhaps even receive the mandate of government as, if conditions are correct, what could be seen as the digital alternative for the official currency. If that's the case, that could lead to a major discrepancy in terms of which institution actually presides over monetary policy. But that's neither here nor there. Really, the big takeaway, in my opinion, here is just the uncertainty of it all, and that's part of the beauty and the amazing time we're living in. Really, I mean, just think free enterprise able to leapfrog a central bank by issuing their own digital equivalent of a central bank currency. Wow, cool stuff. So yeah, just we'll keep an eye on that as well. A lot of interesting things coming out of Australia. We talked about Power Ledger last time. A lot of stuff coming out of that island. But we're kind of running up on some time. Oh God, we're running up on some time here. 11 minutes, dang. I'll tell you what, we're just going to go through and just check out the titles of these articles. Next up, Germany's central bank claims success in its blockchain settlement trial. They tested this digital ledger technology a while back for their central bank. The Germans, generally forward-thinking in their statecraft. Sometimes I immediately thought of World War II when I said that, so not always forward-thinking. But yeah, suffice to say, in this aspect, they definitely were. Yeah, they tested this almost over a year ago. Everything worked well. They were able to have some successful interbank settlement. They worked with Ripple on the project. Ripple is seems to be the predominant central bank liaison for digital currencies at present. But yeah, with that said, guys, let's go ahead and transition over into the happenings for October 26th. Crypto Expo Asia is going on in Singapore. For Saturday, October 27th, Texas Bitcoin Conference 2018 is happening in Austin, Texas. And for Sunday, October 28th, the Crypto Summit 2018 is kicking off in Zurich, Switzerland. That's all we have for the weekend and Friday and for this Crypto Coffee update. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Been loving this new format. Let me know what you think below in the comments. If you like me more than the guinea pig, or if the guinea pig has become the real star of the show. But yeah, I appreciate all the comments and all the feedback, guys. Much love. My name is Paul. We are Cryptide, and remember, the tide is rising. So is the view count because of these little potatoes.